All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now talk about the Browns Chiefs game as well as talking about the Patrick Mahomes injury and update you guys on that. Now, the Chiefs once again picked up a win. They won 21-7 against the Browns. And I mean, this game was just never really competitive. The Chiefs really didn't have to do much offensively to get the win here because Jameis Winston was not good yesterday. The Browns as a team were not good yesterday either. You had a lot of turnovers from them. I think there was at least 4 turnovers. Jameis had 3 interceptions, ended up getting benched. Him and Will Levis both got benched yesterday. Jameis finished with 3 interceptions, and they actually did put in a DTR, and he threw a pick as well. Nick Chubb also fumbled. James Prochet, he also fumbled as well. So the Browns had 6 turnovers in this game. Not a good performance by them. I mean, it's just been a lost season for them. Also, you had Myles Garrett leave the game briefly because he got poked in the eye, but he was able to come back in. Also, I wanted to bring up, so Anthony, a regular here on the GSMC football podcast, a few comments here. He said, I've noticed this recently with the games throughout the season. It seems like the NFL cares more about putting the best games on Sunday Night Football. They don't really care about Monday or Thursday. Well, it's kind of been like that for a while. I think it's gotten better. At least on Monday, it's gotten better a little bit, just because of the crew that they have with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But also the Thursday night games, I think at some points this year have gotten better. Like, we've seen a couple of good ones. We've seen, the Ravens and the Bengals. We've seen the Vikings and the Rams. Like, there's been some good games. I don't think Thursday night football should be a thing. As much as it's fun to have multiple games on during the week, I'm not a fan of it. I think you should just have the games on Sunday, and you have the Monday night game, of course, and then you can have the games on Thanksgiving, obviously. But now they're also adding the games on Christmas. It's just I'm fine with you got the games on Sunday, you got the games on Monday. Maybe you throw a game on Saturday. It's just I don't know. That's just me. But he also says it seems like a total waste then if you don't really care about the ratings of Thursday night or Monday night football. Why keep them? The games are always bad on those days. I mean, they're not always bad. And listen, if the ratings weren't good, they wouldn't do it. They're still doing it. And especially now when ESPN, you get Troy Aikman and Joe Buck to do the games. I mean, they're not going to do away with that. And Amazon is now, the home of Thursday Night Football and has been for the last couple of years. They're not going to do away with it. And again, if the ratings were bad, we wouldn't see these games. But it's the NFL, so there's always going to be ratings. And then also said, is there any updates on how bad the injury is for the receiver for the Dolphins? Yeah, I'll have to look into during the break. But yeah, that was another because I was looking at the games on the ESPN app, the fantasy app, and I saw that the game got delayed, and I was confused as to why that was the case. And then I had Red Zone on, and I saw the injury, and that was bad. That it got to the point where he had stopped the game. So I'll have to look into that during the break here. But yeah, a lot of injuries yesterday, and that was one of them too, which I will get to during the week. But yeah, no, that was a scary situation in that game. So yeah, I will. Like I said, I'll look into it as we go along here. But kind of back to what I was talking about with the Chiefs and the Browns. Yeah, sloppy game. Patrick Mahomes, though, he got hurt in this game, like I said, suffered an ankle injury. He got taken out. Now, the Browns weren't really doing anything offensively. Had they needed Mahomes to come back in, he would have came back in. But Carson Wentz finished up the game. Chiefs get the win. Like I said, I mean, Jameis Winston was not good. 16 to 25, 146 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, he was just throwing the ball up for grabs in this game on 2 of the interceptions at least. But One of them was not really his fault. It hit off of Nick Chubb and then got picked off by Nick Bolton. Um, I didn't see the DTR interception. Um, like I said, Nick Chubb fumbled in this game. Also, news on Nick Chubb: he broke his foot, so he's probably out for the year. Just very disappointing. Chubb really was not doing that much since he's come back from injury, and that might have been it for him with the Browns. The Browns might move off of him, possibly, and he might be going to a new team next year. And I hope if this is it for him with the Browns, I hope he does go find a new home and he's successful there. Because Nick Chubb is a good player, and I hope this is not the beginning of the end for him. Because he was one of the best running backs in the NFL, and that injury really set him back. And it was great to see him out on the field, but you just saw that he's just not right. And now this injury here, effectively ends his season. So hopefully, he's back on the field next year, and he finds a new home. But anyways, yeah, the Browns, they did have one big play, Jerome Ford, a 62-yard touchdown. You thought maybe when that happened that the Browns were gonna get back in the game, but it didn't happen. The Chiefs ended up holding on. Patrick Mahomes on the day went 19 to 38 for 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Carson Wentz 2 for 2 for 20 yards. Isaiah Pacheco had 32 yards on the ground. Kareem Hunt had 45 yards on the ground. Xavier Worthy had a touchdown in this game. Thought it was a forward pass. It was a backwards pass, so it counted as a run. So he had a rushing touchdown. Mahomes had 14 yards. P. Ryan had 11. Worthy actually was the leading receiver. He had 6 receptions for 46 yards. DeAndre Hopkins had 5 for 36. Travis Kelce 4 for 27. Samaje P. Ryan 1 for 23. Chiefs defense, 5 sacks on the day. Harrison Butker went 0 for 1 on field goals. He shanked the chip shot field goal that he had. I think that was towards the end of the first half. But again, the weather wasn't great. Jerry Jeudy had a big day for the Browns at least. 11 receptions for 108 yards. Browns defense, no sacks of any of the quarterbacks that played for the Chiefs between Mahomes and Wentz. And they improved to 13-1 on the season. And, as for Mahomes, he was asked about his availability for Saturday's game against the Texans. So, yeah, quick turnaround because you got the Steelers and the Ravens on Saturday as well as the Chiefs and the Texans. And right now, Mahomes said it's hard to say right now. You still have the adrenaline rolling, and usually it's kind of the day after when you kind of get a good sense of it. I feel like I could have finished the game in different circumstances, but I thought the smart decision was to put Carson Wentz in, which I do agree with. He said you just have to do what you have to do to get back, and I think that's the most important thing. And now we just get back to the rehab part, the treatment part, and try to get ourselves ready on a short week against a good football team. Now, ankle's not broken. Andy Reid said it's sore, and he'll get started on the rehab part of it as we go, and then we'll just have to see how it does down the road here. So he was removed midway through the fourth quarter. And again, that was probably the smart move because the Browns just were not doing anything. And had this game been tied, Mahomes probably stays in, but it was the smart move. Now, the Chiefs, look, they got the division all wrapped up. Right now, they got a 2-game lead on the Bills for the 1 seed. So, they're in a good spot right now where you could essentially rest Patrick Mahomes maybe for this game coming up against the Texans. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to go as far as to say, you have him sit these next 3 games because you don't want the Bills to catch up. And then, you also got the Steelers to play on the schedule. The Bills have the Patriots twice and the Jets. So the Bills could probably go 3-0 these final 3 games. The Chiefs at least, yeah, I mean the Chiefs they gotta keep winning games. Because you don't want to lose home field advantage. And they got tough games. I mean the Texans, it's going to be a tough game, and then your next 2 games are on the road against the Steelers and the Broncos. So, they are in a tough spot with how they're going to handle Mahomes because, yeah, you could have him sit this game on Saturday, have him heal up, and then he comes back against the Steelers when they play next Wednesday. The thing is, though, their backup quarterback is Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz, I think, could still win you games. I think this was the best spot for him, is just being a backup to Patrick Mahomes. And this is why you brought him in case something like this happens. And, Carson Wentz, obviously his career has been up and down. And, look at where he was in 2017, and before that ACL injury. Did we think this is how his career was going to unfold as he was putting together an MVP season? No. But that's what ended up happening. And here we are years later, and now he's backing up Mahomes. So I think Carson Wentz, if he's got to start, I think he could get the job done. Now, I think if you had, Chad Henne or Blaine Gabbert that you had to play these final 3 games, it's not good. But you got Carson Wentz, and I think Carson Wentz maybe could get the job done if he has to step in. But we'll see. Andy Reid talking about Mahomes. Wanted to fight about it, but we've got a good support there behind him with Carson, and it was good to get him a few reps in there too, and let our guys hear that snap count in case he has to go. So, yeah, and then Mahomes said, I was trying to run up in the pocket, obviously 4th down, trying to make a play happen, and as I threw the ball, I kind of got hit, and I haven't seen it, but it felt like someone hit me from behind as well, and so I kind of just got rolled up on. Yeah, it looked like he was like a pretzel, kind of. Kind of happens in football. And so I tried to bounce back up, but obviously it hurt a little bit. But now we'll just have to get after the rehab part of it and try to be ready for next week. And he took some big shots yesterday. Once again, just taking a lot of hits. This offensive line, like I said, needs to be better. And, we saw what happened to Mahomes in the playoff game against the Jaguars a couple years ago. It's kind of the same thing. It was a high ankle sprain, but he played through it, and obviously the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. But it puts the Chiefs in a tough spot, on whether they want to play Mahomes or not, because again, home field advantage is still up for grabs. Now you still have the division. They could, if they somehow lost the number 1 seed, you still. Would be a top 2 seed. But you want to have home field advantage because, if they could somehow clinch that and maybe you rest Mahomes, then you have the first round bye, and he gets all the time in the world to rest up. Because it is interesting. Because what if the Chiefs had clinched home field advantage already? Then you probably just have Mahomes sit these final few weeks, and he comes back for the playoffs. But he probably wants to be out there. So, and if you remember from Jaguars game, he was really, pushing to get back in. Now, eventually he did, but they had him out for a little bit. Chad Henne came in and played a little bit. So, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it throughout the week. But these final 3 games are tough. So, and obviously, Patrick Mahomes gives them the best chance to win. But if Carson Wentz has to come in, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, just because he's got a proven track record of being a starter, and I think he could still start for teams in the league. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But let me know what you guys think about this game, about the Mahomes injury. Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our next break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the Seahawks-Packers game from last night, how that unfolded. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.